So, hello and welcome to another episode. I am Brian, the Unskilled Commander, and this is Who's That Creator? A series where I take and interview a creator, big or small, so that you don't miss out on really awesome Magic the Gathering content. Today, I'm joined with a good friend of mine and a really awesome person and Magic creator, Cody from Brew Review. So, first question, as always, the low-hanging fruit that everyone does 1,000 times when streaming. Please tell the folks watching who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
Yeah, hello everybody. I am Cody. Some people know me as Combat Trick Cody on the internet. It's my blue sky. And we do a podcast called Brew Review. I do it with my best friend Laz. We've been going 3 years this month. So you can find us on podcast services anywhere. We're a commander deck building podcast where we try to get better at the game. When Laz and I started it, I was still very new to the game. Laz felt like he wasn't very up to par with a lot of stuff. And I feel like over the past 3 years, we've done a really great job about getting better as deck builders. We've definitely evolved. And so it's been a good time. We talk about the social dynamics. We have a nice 5-person pod that we kind of rotate people in and out of. And so we talk about like kind of the meta of our pod. And I think people really enjoyed that. So yeah.
Awesome. And congratulations on the 3-year anniversary. That's really cool.
Thank you.
As one myself, you hit those stretches where it's like, do I keep going? Do I bother? And so just the fact that, you keep going and keep turning out content and it still matters to you is pretty cool. So next question I wanted to ask is there a story behind the name logo of Brew Review?
Yeah. So we actually started the podcast and it was called Brew It or Screw It. And unlike many people at the time, we thought, oh my God, these people just look up random decks and shit all over them. The idea was that like we would bring a deck to the table and we'd be like, okay, well, are we actually going to brew it or are we going to say screw it to the deck?
Mm-hmm.
And we had that for about like a year, I think. And I had heard a lot of negative feedback from people being like, I don't know if this name sounds bad, Cody. And I literally had another creator go up to me and go, hey, yeah, just so you know, like everyone thinks y'all just shit on people all the time. And I'm like, great. So we had started like a mini podcast within a podcast called Brew Review where we would look at older decks that we had built many years prior. Like we looked at like Laz's Edgar Markov list that he's had for 3 years. And I was like, well, what if we just took Brew Review and made it, because we're reviewing decks that we brewed and like behind the curtain. Most people when they're looking up Magic decks, they're looking up like Edgar Markov Brew or things like that. And so it helped out with the algorithm. So I was like, hey, I told Laz about it, and he was like, that's really cool sounding actually. Like I like the kind of like alliteration of Brew Review, and I was like, cool. And I was like, what should our logo be? And he was like, it should be like Breaking Bad. And I went, all right, sure. And so the guy who edited our podcast at the time before I took over, he put it together for us, and that's kind of been our logo ever since. We've messed around with it here or there, but that's kind of been it for now. We like it. Maybe in a few years, if we're still going, we'll take a look at it again. But it's been, it's unique, I would say. Not many people are rocking Breaking Bad in the Commander universe.
Yeah, and I don't know, like I'd never thought Brew It or Screw It sounded offensive or like overly negative or anything. It just like I'm maybe because I talked to you like early on when when you came in, like, but I understood. It's like, oh, are we gonna brew this deck? Or are we gonna say screw it? We're not gonna do it. Like, I don't know what the problem is with that, but okay. Like, I mean, and I applaud that you took the feedback seriously and were able to be like, you know what, let's eliminate any possible confusion. Let's just change it early on and make it a little bit smoother. So that was smart and good for you guys to do.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I think it was for the best. I feel like people, I think at the time, it was also kind of, it coincided with like a really bad part of my time as a Magic creator where I was really going through a rough patch. And so when we changed names, I feel like people thought I was more approachable. I feel like more people like wanted to talk to me and reach out to me. So I thought that was really nice. So it kind of all worked out in the end. So
good. That's awesome. So in the world of Magic the Gathering content, obviously there's a lot of different avenues. There's largely like your gameplays of Commander and stuff like that. You've got different kind of interviews, sort of similar to like Mine, this is like a low grade one, but there's like better and bigger interviews stuff. What drew you to doing a podcast versus any kind versus gameplay or something that's a little bit more like, oh, watch me build a deck on Moxfield or whatever?
So I've been listening to podcasts going on like 15 years. It's like my favorite form of content. I've been a part of many podcasts over the years, a lot of video games. My first ever podcast I was a part of was a podcast called Talking Games, where they just talked video games. And then I eventually started my own with my friend Sam. It was Geek Art Games because we were geeks who loved games,
Hmm.
And then I went on to do a Destiny podcast and another video game podcast. But I find podcasting to be like, in my opinion, like the most purest form of content because it requires you to like sit down either by yourself or with another person and have a conversation for
Hmm.
multiple hours, sometimes a month, sometimes a week. And I just find it so interesting because I feel like you can really get into the nitty gritty of how people think when
Hmm.
you're listening to them talk for over months and months. Like, and so originally I wanted to do an interview podcast because my favorite podcast of all time is an old podcast called Art of Wrestling. It was a wrestler who would interview other wrestlers while they were on the road.
Oh, sweet.
And so
Okay.
I was like, oh, I want to interview other Magic creators. And Laz kind of was like, well, you're nobody, Cody. How are you going to get a Joey Schultz or at the
Right.
time, these are the only big names I knew. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. He's like, well, we talk about deck building all the time. Why don't we just make our own podcast? And I was like, that makes sense. Like we can actually come together and like talk about it on air,
Hmm.
and the rest was history. But yeah, I mean, to me, like podcasting is just like super nice because it's another way for me and Laz to get to talk. I live in the state of Louisiana. He lives in New York, and it's a nice way for us to get together once a month and just like sit down and chat about how our lives are going, things like that. Outside of texting, obviously we text almost every day, but
Right. But it's a good
actually
excuse to
having a
like actually
conversation,
talk.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so that's kind of been the benefit.
So, okay, so with that, did you ever consider, or have you do you consider ever doing like more of a vlog instead of just a podcast? So doing like sort of like this, where it's the same, exactly what you're doing, you're just both visible. Was that ever on the table, or is it no? Let's just do audio. Let's.
So we've recently started doing video to kind of like because we wanted to after MagicCon last year, where I got to meet you and Corey in person.
Mhm.
I was like, hey, I want to make a better effort at this. I want to try to do more. So we started doing shorts, and I was like, the big thing is video because unfortunately, audio podcasts are kind of dying out. There's like a Forbes article a few months ago where it was like video podcasts are taking over. People sitting on couches together talking and things like that are the big
Right.
thing. And so I started doing video. I don't mind it. Like I don't really think I'm the most handsome looking guy in the room, but if people want to look at my face while I talk, I understand. For me, audio has always just been like the pure thing because like you throw in headphones, you don't gotta watch someone's facial reactions, you can just hear them. And when you're walking around working in a warehouse for the past 12 years, that's what always made sense to me.
Sure.
But yeah, I get it. It's the new thing. It's a new craze in the world.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I see both aspects. I mean, definitely podcast makes far more sense, like you're saying, to be on the go, to just like put it on your jogging or you're driving to work or whatever. You're just listening. It's essentially it's just the radio morning show is what it is. It's that
Yeah.
you're listening to some people bantering and talking and you get to just kind of listen. But adding the video aspect, it definitely seems to be, I think, spurred by the whole influx of like constant like celebrities doing it now. Like every
Oh yeah.
celebrity that was on a TV show that doesn't have a TV show any right now is also doing one. It's like, oh my god! And like Conan left late night and had started his own, and it's like, guys, can we
Well, and that's what's like. So that podcast I mentioned, The Art of Wrestling, like he was strictly audio, all that, and then like old, like famous or wrestlers like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Chris Jericho, they all start their own podcast. Well, it's all video,
hmm.
and so it felt like these like guys who came in and like took this niche away from this one guy because then they are also interviewing wrestlers who were on the road, and it's like. Okay, well, and that's just the craze right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the kind of the thing. It's very much the craze of the century right now.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you this one. So with podcasts, basically because like tying into what you just said, like it's a big craze. Podcasting in general has been a big trend for a while now, and now, like you said, doing the video aspect. But I think there's a slight, not stigma to it, but a certain aspect where people tend to think, oh, it's easy. You just plug in a microphone and start yapping. It's how hard is it? So I wanted to ask you. It seems simple enough, but like, was there a challenge that surprised you once you got into it, like about the entire process of making this podcast that you just weren't expecting? And you're like, oh shit, we gotta. This actually takes some effort, like this portion of it or this thing.
Yeah, I think there's the joke is every white guy with a beard has a podcast, which I'm not helping that stigma at all.
Right? Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing was, so what I realized is after years and years of listening to other podcasts, I realized I'm an audio snob. I hate when I can hear breathing in the background. I can hear like, noise in the background. It freaks me out. Like I hate it. Like I've stopped listening to podcasts because they have that. And if I can hear someone click clacking on a keyboard in the background, it's gonna drive me insane. And so literally, like I never did any of the editing for other podcasts except for the one I did a solo podcast. But that was like I was living with my parents and I was in a secluded room, and so like the audio sounded great because there was nothing for like anything to bounce off of, and like it sounded perfect. And so when we started Brewed or Screwed at the time, I was in an apartment that was empty because I had recently made some bad life choices and ended up living by myself. And it was just like, oh my God, I hate how I sound because echoing, and then like the air conditioner would turn on and you could hear it.
Right.
I like found out that like I have a deviated septum, so it's hard for me to breathe through my nose. So I'm heavy breathing into the microphone. Um, and so that's why like for the first like I want to say it was like 8 or 9 months to a year. We paid our friend Bobby to edit the podcast. It was like $100 a month because I was just like, dude, I can't do this. Like, I felt like I was sucking. I felt like I'd do really good, and then the podcast would release, and I'd hear someone shoot us an email being like, "Hey, Cody's breathing super heavy into the mic," and I'm like, oh god. So that's the hard part. Is like for me as an audio snob, someone who like cares about these integral things. Like just recently, I've started having this like background noise thing happen when I'm talking sometimes, and I hate it. And so I literally like sat down with my friend Bobby and was like, "Hey, break it down one by one. Like, how do I make this better?" And we literally spent like a Discord call fixing it. And
Nice.
so I think that's the toughest thing. I think it's like if you're someone like me who cares about like the audio, like learning how to edit it properly takes some time. Obviously I think a big help is like the software we use. We use a Riverside. They do a lot of like in-house like audio cleanup stuff in the background, but I still have to go in and like cut some fine tune some stuff to make it proper. But that's been the biggest hurdle for me. And I think the other thing is just like staying consistent. Like we're a monthly podcast. That's not, there aren't a lot of monthly podcasts out there, but like we just both live such busy lives. Like Laz is a dad and has a full-time job. I have a full-time job and also a lot of medical stuff going on. And so finding the time, which just sounds crazy, to sit down once a month and record for 2 to 3 hours,
Yeah,
it's time consuming.
it
It's a
is.
lot. So like I applaud anyone who's doing a weekly or bi-weekly show because like hell yeah, good on y'all. But like as a 30 something and a 40 something year old, it's tough for us. So
Yeah, no, I completely agree with the editing aspect. That's one of the reasons why I've kind of like stopped editing, because it was just like an hour episode of gameplay took 3 hours to edit because
oh god, yeah.
largely because partially because of trying to put the cards on the screen and all, make them slide in and look all fancy, which I have given up on. But also same thing. I don't breathe right through my nose completely, so I do take breaths. I'm like, and I hear that on the editing, and it disgusts me. I'm like, "Argh." Like the second I hear I just get so mad listening to myself do that. I have to cut out every single little breath, and that takes forever. And it's like I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, you know what? Hey, if you're gonna listen to it, thank you. If you're not gonna listen to it, I get it. It's just so much work, and I have a job, and it's like I'm not gonna make another job out of just editing these things. So I feel that completely. We do have a question in the chat. So it is from, there it goes. So from Bloodrig Guy, Cody, top 3 people you would love to have on Brew Review. Like pie in the sky, who's your top?
Oh man, if I'm doing interviews, Rachel Weeks is number one, I think. I love her thought process behind building decks. I think she has some really cool ideas out there. Mental Misplay, Alan. I think that
Sure.
dude is like the most wholesome, great guy ever. And so I would love to be able to sit down and chat with him for a few hours. And then Joey Schultz. Joey Schultz is, I think, one of the main reasons I got like really in love with Magic so early. I stumbled upon EDH Rec Cast and like just consumed like episodes after episodes. And like I literally think like one of the first decks I ever wanted to build was Babala Saga because he has the Baby Lasagna deck. So yeah, those are like my top three. I think all of them are amazing and part of why I'm so into Magic. I think in a way because like I
Hmm.
found Rachel through Commander Sphere, her original podcast she was doing,
Okay.
and then when she moved over to Command Zone, I actually had like stopped listening to Command Zone as much. And when
Hmm.
she came over, I was like, cool,
Yeah.
I'm listening to this for Rachel.
Yep.
She's amazing. So yeah, and then Alan, like someone who I think just like I love the interview content he does. So I'm
Hmm.
like, I would love to interview him. Like, just really awesome. But yeah, those would be my top three, like pie in the sky.
Right.
If I
Those
was,
are great choices because I mean I agree. Like
yeah,
Rachel is really awesome. I was lucky to have her on one of my cherry streams. Like last
yeah,
year, was it last year 2025? I think it was. But still, she was just great to play with. Super nice. Like just it was like she didn't come in with any kind of attitude. It was like as if we were just a bunch of people, a bunch of friends playing. And Alan, I've played with him
yeah,
once at Commander Sealed, and it was a lot of fun. He was fun to
nice.
play with and talk to. So yeah, I get all of those. So what you said? We just congratulated you on hitting 3 years. So what motivates you to continue to make Magic the Gathering content?
So tough question lately.
I asked those hard
I
hitting
think
questions.
I know, yeah. I think the thing that keeps me going is the fact that people actually started listening in a way. When I did video game podcasts, I was like, cool, 10 people listen to this. This is awesome. And so the fact that like within our first year we had like 10,000 listens, and I get like not all of those people like continued listening, but like
Still.
Spotify started doing the rap thing for
Hmm.
podcasters when we still use Spotify for podcasters, and like it was like, oh hey, you're like top 1% podcast for like 10 people in the world, and then like 100 people listen to you regularly each week, and I was like, this is insane. What?
That's
And
great.
like I think yeah, I think like actually having people reach out and talk to you about like stuff. Like we had a guy early on, Joseph, who is actually funny enough become the bane of my existence because he's in our Discord and he just glazes up Laz all the time, and then I'm the bad guy constantly, and I'm like, come on, Joseph, I emailed with you first. But then like just last year when the rap thing came out, a guy emailed and was like, hey, I'm a top 1% listener. I love your guys' work. I've listened to everything, and I'm like, that's awesome. Like cool. Um, so that, and then just like, I think it's always important that like, yeah, like I'm just another white dude with a beard who has a podcast, but I
Hmm.
do think everyone's voice matters in some way. And so if us talking about what's not working in our meta influences or helps someone figure out a new deck for their meta,
Hmm.
like that's what I care about. I
Right.
want to, I don't feel like we are talking out of our ass. Like we straight up at the start are like, hey, like we're not, geniuses. Like we're really just trying out stuff and seeing what sticks to the wall.
Hmm.
And I think that like kind of honesty has helped us in a way.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think like, you know, people and then just like having somewhat of a motivation. Also just like like I said earlier, it's a great way for Laz and I to sit down and talk.
Hmm.
And like if we stop doing it, then that goes away. And I really like talking to him. He's my best friend, going on like 4 years now.
Hmm.
So yeah.
No, and that's fair. I mean, all of those pieces make sense to continue. Like, that you're seeing some progress. You're seeing, you're feeling the impact of your work, which is always good. Whatever you do, whether it's actual
Yeah.
job or hobby job or whatever, it's like, getting feedback and saying, hey, I like what you do. It just makes you feel good and it makes you want to do a little bit more. So that's awesome. What do you feel makes Brew Review and your content with you and Laz, what do you feel makes it stand out in that sea of podcasters and vloggers?
I think just how what I've been told from other people, but I think Laz and I have a very natural conversation.
Hmm.
Like nothing feels forced. Like I think early on it felt forced because I was definitely doing that like we're magic creators, ha ha ha. But
Right.
Laz like very quickly pulled me out of that. And it's really just two buddies goofing off, talking to each other.
Hmm.
And like we're not, yeah, we're trying to do a little bit more. Like we're doing the shorts, we're doing video, things like that. But like we're not trying to nickel and dime people like, oh hey, here's our sponsor, Hello Fresh. Da, 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 da. Buy these things using our code.
Yep.
Like we're just people talking about magic, And so I think that's kind of helped is just like our banter and our talking feels very natural. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like we're doing this just because we're hoping one day to hit the Wizards of the Coast jackpot. It would be cool. Don't get me wrong. If anyone from
Sure.
Wizards of the Coast is listening, I would love that personally. But
Right.
I would love it to not have to buy product for a little while.
That yeah, exactly.
I
My
think it's
next
just a
question
natural way we're
actually
going.
mirrors a question in chat, so they're pretty much the exact same question.
Huh?
What is a piece of content slash episode that you are most proud of and why?
We did this one-off episode where I like reached out to a lot of people in the community and got a lot of feedback about mass land destruction. Because Laz for a few years now has been pushing that he wants to like make a mass land destruction deck, and I've been like, this is gonna go terrible for you. You're gonna build the deck and then never play it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just really nice that like I like people I would ask for feedback, people gave feedback, and then like I would I had nice conversations with people back and forth about like what works for them, what doesn't, and I feel like it was like a nice break from like here's a deck of the month. It was very much just like here's a thoughtful like think piece kind of article podcast about mass land destruction and why maybe you should or shouldn't brew it depending on like what your meta is.
Sure.
And like ultimately we decided that like Laz should not do that. It would be very bad for him. So, but I think that's the one I'm most proud of because it just took a lot of community outreach and then like a lot of like getting all the data together to make it work.
Makes sense. Another question from the chat. What's one thing you feel is your weakest part of the podcast, and does it keep you up at night?
Ooh. Well, first off, thank you, Cole, for asking all these questions.
Yeah.
The weakest part, I think I have this question twofold. One way I think about it is the fact that we're a monthly podcast. So like if there's something like newsworthy, like that, like when the Commander bans happened,
Mm-hmm.
we were like 3 weeks late to that. So
Right.
like if someone cared about our opinion, it was gone. And like we've tried to do like bi-weekly and like it works for a bit and then like life just gets in the way.
Sure.
We're gonna actually try this year to go bi-weekly with like a smaller podcast, which I won't reveal just yet because we haven't actually recorded them.
You heard it here first, folks. Teaser.
The other thing is that I think the weakest part is probably just that I don't push. Like in the beginning, I kind of pushed to get the podcast out there to people, but like I'm not like these days. I'm not trying to get it in front of people as much. I'm really, hoping people stumble upon it or word of mouth gets out there that people like it. But like early on, I was very much like, all right, get on all the streams so I can talk about my podcast. And like that's a shitty thing to admit, but it was a lot of people won't admit that, but that's what a lot of creators
Oh,
do
they
when they get into this
absolutely.
game. And I'll be honest, I did it. I was like reaching out, going everywhere,
I
and
did it
eventually I
too.
hit
Like,
kind of like
try to get as many
burnout.
many streams as you can, just so you can mention your own name. Like, hey, I'm Brunskill Commander. I have my own channel. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not even anything to be
Um,
ashamed of. I mean, it's just par for the course, especially when starting.
yeah. Yeah. And so I think us not doing that has probably limited our growth in a way. But I'm okay with it nowadays. And it bothered me for a while, but eventually I was just like, okay, you know what? I think we put on a good show. If people like it, cool. If not,
Hmm.
it is what it is. So
Right.
yeah, that's my kind of twofold how I look at it.
What part of your personality do you feel truly shines through in relation to your content? So on the podcast, is there something that you just feel about yourself that like kind of kicks in a little bit better and is exemplified in the way you guys discuss things?
I'm very like analytical when I look at stuff. So I'm a warehouse team lead at work, and my big thing is like inventory. I like am nerdy about numbers when it comes to inventory. Like
Hmm.
I want to like if something's missing, I'm gonna like hone in and figure it out. And so like when it comes to deck building, like Laz is very much the vibes based, like fuck it, we ball, and I'm very
Right,
much the
right.
like analytical, like all right, you only have 5 pieces of card draw. Like, can we analyze like what we could do to make this better? And
Hmm.
like I think that's why we work so well together is that like yeah, I can be a fuck it we ball kind of guy sometimes, but because I'm analytical a lot of times, it helps make decks a lot better for both of us
Hmm.
because we can kind of get some of that goofy stuff along with like the serious side of it. And so I think that like just being able to analyze like, okay, this is what's working in this deck, this is what's not working in this deck. Um, so yeah, things like that. I think is kind of what shines through for me.
All right. Let's look at the chat here. This time from Corey. Uh, Speaking of weaknesses, what's something you would emulate from another creator or have learned from another creator that you think has helped your growth?
Trying to think. I think honestly, just like actually trying to make like real friendships out there. And I'm not sure I emulated this from anybody, but like more like just like realizing that being like, "Hello, my friend," like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, "What's up?" Like, that's not, you know, I would say like trying to get closer to you and to Corey and like Cole, like actually like talking to these people about how life's going, things like that.
Sure.
Like, I feel like it's made me better because like it proves I'm a real person. Like when I talked earlier about how like I was getting on these streams just to get the name out there, like that was a very shitty approach. But this, like actually making friends, talking with them, like it's what like brings that whole like word of mouth thing to life.
Right.
Because like, oh hey, they're like, okay, if you're looking for a new podcast, Cody's a cool person. Listen to his podcast.
Hmm.
I did it for Corey. Someone asked like, "Hey, what's the Urcast about?" in a random Discord I'm in, and I was like, "Oh, hey, I actually just guested on an episode. They're really cool guys. Go listen to them." And so yeah, I think just being genuine, like realizing that like, and like I think this kind of stems from I was telling you before about when I was part of the Destiny video game community, like no one was really genuine in that space. It was just a lot of like, "Hey friend, what's up? What can I use you for this month?" and
Right.
then never talk to you again.
Hmm.
And I think realizing like, okay, find the people I want to interact with, you, Corey, Cole, Quinn, um, and a few other people, like, and actually try to like be friends, talk to them, keep up with them, hey, how you doing? Like, I'm not going to leak anything here, but like Corey, Brian, and I have a group chat where we text like every other day. It feels like
Hmm.
sometimes daily, and like that's been a huge like blessing because it's like we bounce these ideas off each other. I talk to Cole pretty regularly. Like maybe like we get together like once every few weeks and just like make sure we're okay. And like that's been kind of nice. It's been helpful for me because like there was a period of time where I was like, oh my god, I don't want to be a part of this community because people are fake and things like that. So
Hmm.
it was nice.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that and also agree with it because it's not only just fun because we are friends and becoming better friends, so it's just a friends group chat, but because we're also, low level Magic the Gathering content creators, we're able to like bounce ideas off each other and be like, hey, this thing's frustrating me. Yeah, it frustrates us too, blah blah blah. And then makes you feel a little better when you're like, okay, I'm not alone. I get it. All right. And you kind of just move on
Yeah.
more than if you just dwelled on it yourself. So I get that. You, as you just said, you were in the video game area for a while. What drew you to Magic the Gathering in the first place? And was it like, did you start getting into Magic the Gathering instantly say, I want to do something with creator wise? Or was it just, oh, this is just a fun game. And then eventually you're like, hey, you know what? I want to do creator stuff again. And
So I was in a really bad place in my life. I had made some very bad life decisions, and I was looking for something to take my mind off of where I was at in life. And funnily enough, I was in this house, and I stumbled upon the Command Zone. It was Post Malone playing Magic, and I like Post Malone's music. And I went, "Huh, what's this Magic thing?"
Mhm.
And I watched him play Commander, and I was like, "Okay." And so I started researching it a little bit. I was like, "What's Commander? Like, what is it?" Like, I played Magic like once or twice in the past. I have two distinct memories. I played it in elementary school for all of 5 seconds and
Right.
didn't understand anything that was happening.
Yeah.
And then shortly after high school, a buddy invited me to learn how to play, and he asked me what I wanted to play, and I said goblins. And he proceeded to build me a goblin deck and crush me with a mono blue control deck. And so I played one game and went, all right, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Back to Yu-Gi-Oh! I go.
Wow. That's great.
Um,
Okay.
so after I watched the Post Malone video, I texted Laz because I had known they had played Magic loosely by like us playing video games and them talking about it. And I was like, "Hey, you play Magic?" And he's like, "Yeah, we play Commander. We're actually looking, because usually what happens in our pod is someone isn't available
Hmm.
when people want to play Magic. Like
Sure.
there's always three people ready to go, and then one person is just not available.
Yeah.
That's how it goes constantly. Like literally today, it was like we playing tonight, and it's like one person's MIA, Laz is in Costa Rica, so like no, it's not happening.
Yep.
And so Laz was like, yeah, like check it out. Like it's really fun. We play on this thing called Spell Table, and I bought a pre-con 2 days later, and the rest is history. I like fell in love with the game. Um, my first game ever was a three-person pod, and I loved to I was playing a land deck, and I loved just I was animating lands and punching people in the face, and I was doing like tricksy combat tricks with a Naya charm. I was
Nice.
like, this is sick. And then so I started in October of 2022, and over the Christmas break, it was my first time working at a job where they gave us like a week off. And
Nice.
so I spent that entire week just like building decks, playing Magic, just doing all kinds of stuff. I was like theorizing this interview podcast, talking with Laz about it. And it was like late December when Laz was finally like, why don't we just do a podcast together?
Hmm.
And that's how I got into it. And when I get into something, I get into something really hard. Like
Right.
I'm not someone who's like, let me go slow. I dropped like probably $1,000 within 2 months just on cards, decks, but that's how I am with hobbies. If I'm into a hobby, I'm gonna, like I used to collect Funko Pops. I had the GameStop set up behind me on every Discord call
Right.
because I had to like these shelves back here would have been filled with Funko Pops back in the day. I have luckily sold all those, and I'm very glad. But that's how I am. When I get into a hobby, it's I'm gonna go hard, and so
Right.
the rest was history, and here I am.
Nice. Well, I'm glad that's what happened. Um, all right, let's grab some from chat here. We've got, do you miss anything about older podcasts compared to what you're doing now?
No. Um the main one I did was Geek Card Games, and that was with my friend Sam. And I would say it's akin to what me and Laz are doing now. Just two friends goofing off, talking about stuff. We would come up with like random video game topics.
Hmm.
But like we could always come up with a new deck idea, and like it's similar in that vein. And then when I did the Destiny 2 podcast, Darkness Zone, um, I was doing that by myself. I was just talking to myself, I would tell people my thoughts on things.
Sure.
And while I didn't mind that, I think having a co-host is so much better because like having someone to bounce ideas off of or just talk to about a thing, like you're not just talking into the void,
Hmm.
and hoping that people want to listen is kind of like the thing. Also, I think in a way, even though Laz and I have trouble getting schedules sometimes, having another person hold you accountable for a schedule
Sure.
is kind of nice, because that was also like a bi-weekly podcast that quickly became a monthly podcast
Hmm.
because I was just like, well, I'm going to be playing the game all the time. So no, there are times where like I kind of want to experiment with like a third host, just
Hmm.
have someone else that like we could rotate for like if I'm sick, if Laz is sick. But I think like our dynamic is so ingrained at this point, going on 3 years,
Well, yeah.
that
After that many episodes and stuff,
mixing
yeah.
in another person right now
Hmm.
wouldn't make sense. So yeah, that's kind of the only thing.
Right. And then if you were to revisit your first brew, what would you change?
Ooh. So my first brew, like I truly built myself, didn't use any online guides, was Minsk and Boo Timeless Ranger,
Nice.
the Gruul Planeswalker.
Hmm.
And that was the terror of our pod because I didn't understand power levels yet as a
Okay.
new game person. So I was going hard. I was killing people with like a 40/40 hamster on like turn 5.
Nice. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and I recently rebuilt it, and like that thing where like you play something for a while and you try to go back to it and it's just not the same. It's not the same.
Hmm.
The one after that I think is my biggest deck building failure is Wilhelt the Rock Cleaver.
Okay.
I wanted a zombie deck because zombies are one of my favorite creature types in other games,
Hmm.
and it was like terrible. Like I hated it because like I like combat. Like I like
Mm.
going to combat, and so having these creatures that would like I would swing with and they would die because they have decayed. Like I hated it.
Yeah.
And so I've always been wanting to go back to a zombie deck that like can win by combat. I don't like combos very much. So that's kind of the brew I'd want to go back to. Um, Technically, the first brew we did on the podcast was a dungeon reanimator deck. It was Sephiroth of the Hidden Ways,
Okay.
and I still want a dungeon deck. We had many dungeon decks early on because I was trying to make it work and I just couldn't. So that's the one I would like to go back to and revisit and see if I can do. I have some really fun reanimator decks now, so I'd really want to just find a deck where I'm just focused on like burning through dungeons.
Right.
So that'd probably be how I'd revisit those.
I had a friend who had a pretty decent one that where it was like he had all the dungeons available, but I can't remember which one he did. But he did like the most popular one, I guess. So like I think it was built around bouncing creatures, so that every time a couple of them would leave or whatever, it would trigger to go through the dungeon, and he would easily complete the dungeon like 3 or 4 times in a game and just get like ridiculously unstoppable, and we couldn't like, and it got to the point where like you couldn't stop the bouncing to stop the going through the dungeon. You were like, all right, whatever. So it's definitely there. It's possible.
Yeah, there's definitely something there that could be revisited and made better.
So this is one of the questions I always like one of my favorites to ask because I'm always interested in how people approach it. So if Magic the Gathering went away tomorrow, it had existed, like there is memories of it and stuff, but all the cards disappear. Somehow you're not able to recreate it. It's just gone. Would you continue to create content for something else? Would you move on to like gravitate to something else? Or would you say, you know what? I had a good run. We did some stuff. I'm done content creating.
I think unfortunately, like Magic has ruined me for other TCGs. Like Laz and I have tried Flesh and Blood. We've tried Riftbound. I played Yu-Gi-Oh for a very long time as a kid, and modern Yu-Gi-Oh is atrocious to me. Like I don't want to win on turn 0.
Yeah.
I think we would like keep going for a bit, as long as we could. But I think there's part of the community that like hungers for new content, and so like when that content goes away, like if WotC went broke tomorrow and no more Magic, like there's only going to be so many older commanders you can make content on before people are like, hey, we don't want to watch this. We're going to quit playing the game altogether. So I think we would go for a little bit longer, just doing stuff we find fun, things like that. But we eventually probably would stop. And I don't know. I've thought about getting back into like video gaming. Like during COVID, I streamed for a little while. I hit like affiliate on Twitch during that time, and like I could see myself going back and doing that here or there. But really, I think I'd probably keep making Magic content until the wheels fell off fully.
So, pie in the sky. What would you love to see Brew Review become? Like no limits, just where would you like it to be at its apex? Like how it's viewed, how it impacts, like what? Yeah, like would you have like a series of podcasts under the Brew Review heading? Like where would you want to take it? If you had the time, you had the money.
If I had all the time in the world, we would be bi-weekly, because I think bi-weekly podcasts are like the standard. Also, I just would I would like that cadence, I think, because then we could do like Laz's deck, my deck. But it's also hard to, like, the reason we started doing it monthly at the beginning was because it was like, okay, well, hey, you make a deck and then I'll make a deck. And like having to do, a deck each a month would definitely drive us crazy.
Sure.
Because it's just, we don't play as much as we would like. Obviously, we would love to sit down and just play constantly, but like, it's just not realistic.
Right.
I can go hop in Discords, but like Laz is that person. Laz is gonna wait till the pod's ready. And like I love our pod, so like I'm just kind of similar way these days where like I want to play with our people because like I know they're bullshit. I know what they're doing. You know?
Yeah.
So bi-weekly would be like a nice thing if we had all the time in the world. Honestly, I'd be happy and like I'm happy right now. Don't get me wrong. Let me preface with that. I'm happy where we're at right now. But like howling salt mine levels would be kind of cool, People who like, they see a logo and just recognize who you are. Right now, I think if people saw Brew Review, they go, I don't know what that's about.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, things like that. That's kind of where it, just if I wore a T-shirt to a MagicCon, no one's asking me what that is. People are like, oh, you're the host of Brew Review. That's sick.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good goal. I think that's a good way to look for it.
So that'd be my pie in the sky.
Yeah. All right. So outside of Magic, what other hobbies do you have?
I'm very big into video games. Like I Arc Raiders came out. Love that. Played a ton of it with some friends. Uh, that High Guard game came out, and I've been really enjoying my time with that.
Hmm.
I'm a huge World of Warcraft nerd. They released. I play WoW Classic, so they re-released the old expansions.
Nice. Yeah.
Play through them. My brother and I have been doing that. They're about to re-release the Burning Crusade expansion. We're gonna play through that together. Pro wrestling. I love pro wrestling. I go to a show at least once a year. It feels like. I just this past weekend went to my parents' house and we watched the WWE Royal Rumble. Um, and I reminded myself why I don't watch this stuff anymore. I watch a company called AEW.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
That's where I'm loyal to.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my big two. I'm just recently starting to get into hockey because they actually have a hockey team playing down here in Louisiana now.
Hmm.
And so we went to one event and then we're going to at least one this month and one next month.
Oh, that's cool. Very
Um,
cool.
so and then I was jumping the gun when I said if I get into something I go in the deep end.
Hmm.
I started looking up tickets for the Dallas Stars because they're the closest hockey team to us.
Right.
And my fiance had to be like, what are we doing? Why don't you calm down?" So
That's
yeah.
fair.
And then just like I'm like a habitual YouTube watcher. Like I have my people on YouTube that like they play a game. I may not even care about that game anymore, but like their content is so good that I'll watch it every time. Um, so those are like my big four right now
Hmm.
in terms of hobbies outside of Magic.
Right. Uh, what is a dream location you would love to visit that you haven't already?
Japan. I've always wanted to go to Japan. I was supposed to go a few years ago, and everything fell apart to do
Hmm.
that. Um, and then the other place would probably be Ireland or Scotland, which I think is where my fiance and I are gonna plan our honeymoon.
Nice.
Um, it just seems like a cool place, like a lot of cool different places you can go see.
Hmm.
We like hiking together, so and then like there's some food I'd like to try. I like to try haggis. I don't know. I know it's probably gross, but I'd like to try it.
Right. I those are literally like the places I would like to go as well. Like Japan always comes up whenever I ask. Everyone wants to go to Japan. It's becoming more and more of a massive like tourist destination, more than it used to be,
Yeah.
especially with nerddom becoming bigger and anime becoming bigger mainstream and stuff. So it's just drawing it more. And then I'd love to go to like Ireland and Scotland too, because this the vistas, the way those coastlines and the stuff, it's just amazing looking from pictures and stuff. And I'd love to see it in person. And
Yeah. The other place would probably be like Greece or Rome because I love Greece mythology and Roman mythology.
mhm.
And I think those would just be really cool places to just go be. But leaving the country right now seems a little scary at times.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a whole
Yeah.
thing. I agree. So, what do you do to relax and unwind from the stresses of the world, as we just vaguely referenced, and the stresses of making magic stuff? And oh man, I gotta do this. I gotta edit. I gotta. What do you do to just take your mind off and calm down?
Funnily enough, my like number one thing is like tinkering with decks because I find it like satisfying to like look through cards I have. Oh hey, why don't I have this in the deck? Things like that. Um, Outside of that, it's probably playing video games. Like that's like my go-to. Like how do I de-stress? Let me just go shoot some bad guys in a video game.
Hmm.
And then after that, it's probably watching YouTube, just finding a murder mystery documentary on there and just like going to town. Like I just watched one the other day about, um, I'm from Louisiana, so there was a serial killer in Baton Rouge the year I was born
Oh.
to like 10 years after I was born, and so I
Hmm.
was like, I did not know this. What? So things like that. But yeah, those are like my go-to for it because they're the easiest way to kind of just escape.
Sure.
Or like I can throw
Yeah.
headphones in, look at cards. I can put some music on or a YouTube video on and play a game, on my computer or PlayStation, or just watch the YouTube video. So
Right. All right. This is an interesting one from chat. What is the 2026 elevator pitch for your content plans in 2026?
the 2026 elevator pitch is more content. We're launching a secondary show. The plan is to record a bunch of episodes at once so that we're always on top of that. Um, and then just more short form content. As far as like trying to get both podcast clips out there because those have done really well.
Mhm.
But then also like maybe just doing a couple of goofy things. Like I ordered a lapel mic to actually do stuff, and I asked you what phone stand you use to
Right.
record shorts because I was like, I could probably do something funny. So things like that, and then just try to be a few more places. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink to Corey in the chat. Maybe assist with some things out there in the Magic content space. That's the 2020 content for Brew Review and just myself.
All right, fair enough. And last question I got for you for this Who's That Creator episode. What is your, up until now, obviously, hopefully there will be much more in the future, but what is your hell yeah moment? Something that happened with Brew Review or Brew to Screw It before the transition that made you go, yeah, I'm a part of this creative world. I'm, like this is fun. This is rewarding, whatever.
Two come to mind.
Hmm.
We were early affiliates with Manipool before a lot of people, got on board with them and started promoting them. And so and it was different because we had another sponsor before that,
Hmm.
or sponsor affiliate, whatever you want to call it. But the other affiliate, and I won't name names, it just felt like they were going to everybody.
Sure.
And so when I got this sponsorship because I wrote for their site, and then I was like promoting it like hell, like, oh my God, I love Manipool. So when we got that like early, affiliate code, I was like, oh my God, like we did this, like hell yeah. The other thing is, I want to honestly say you inviting me to the first charity stream.
Oh
And it
man.
was the game with you, Donnie, and Jen. And like, it was just like in a time shortly after, like I was having a really rough time in creation. Like I felt isolated.
Hmm.
And so when you invited me on, I felt like, holy crap, I'm a part of something. I'm helping raise money and I'm playing games with people I enjoy. And like, it was a very big moment for me. And I felt like it was like solidified, like, okay, because there was a good period there where I was like, all right, we're gonna finish up this year and then that's it. I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
Like, and so when you reaching out and being like, "Hey, bud, do you want to be on charity stream?" and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then you invited me to another one, and I went, "Hell yeah!" Like what? Because like I think early on, I put myself out there and I was on streams a lot, but I honestly didn't think I was like the most fun person to be on a stream. I'm very, as I said, analytical, and I'm very much like looking for ways to win, and so I get quiet and I'm lost in my train of thought.
Hmm.
Um, and then I'm also like someone who like I don't want to overspeak over people, especially like women or trans members of our community. I don't want to
Sure.
overspeak them as a white dude.
Yep.
Like it's not my place. And so like I'm very reserved most times when I'm playing games with people. Um, and so when you invited me back twice, I was like, cool. And then I think that kind of like pushed the mine cart over the edge where like started getting invited to other streams. I started guesting more on MTG Lexicon and like it kind of like took this like spiral I was going down
Hmm.
and just shot me back up where I was like, let's do some more stuff. Maybe this stuff isn't so bad. And so yeah, so I'm always very appreciative of you, Brian. When you
Well,
reached out
thank
this
you.
time, it meant a lot.
That means a lot to hear you say that. I appreciate that. I was not expecting to be part of that answer, so that's really cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But like I said, we'll go out on that super high note with that patting each other on the back. But yeah, that was the last question I had. I wanted to thank everyone in chat for asking questions. That was really awesome. Haven't had that happen for a while, so I appreciate you guys hanging out and talking. And Cody, like, thank you so much for giving me your time and doing this tonight. I really appreciate that. So one last time, let everyone know where they can find you, and if you got anything you'd like to promote coming up, please do.
Yeah. Well, first off, Brian, thank you so much for inviting me. And I was like, when you invited me on, I was like, hell yeah, cool. I'm usually the one doing the interviewing, so it was nice to actually be asked questions. You guys can find me on Blue Sky at CTCMTG, Combat Trick Cody. You can find the podcast on any podcast services or on YouTube. Just search Brew Review Podcast. We come up everywhere. We're also on Instagram at Brew Review MTG. It's one of our only social medias that I use. We have a TikTok, but I've only uploaded to it like twice. And yeah, only big thing coming up is we just, like I said, made 3 years this month. We announced a new logo kind of.
Mm.
We put it on some shirts and some stickers, and it's we're using it to fund our new hosting platform that we moved to this year. So if you're looking for a really cool design of me and Laz as Edgar Markov and Captain Howler the Sea Scourge, you can find it either on my Blue Sky or on Instagram. I post about it everywhere. Um, and yeah, thank you again, Brian. I really appreciate this. This was a ton of fun. I feel like I need to answer this one question from chat though,
Okay.
from Corey, about what's your thoughts on Roman Reigns?
Yeah.
Specifically, why is he always wet? It's upsetting. Um, First off, I like Roman Reigns. I think he's been on top for too long because they like had this like 4 year storyline where he was going to hold the belt for over 1,000 days, and because they didn't want Bruno San Martino from the 1960s to have that longest reign anymore. Um, and then the reason he's always wet is because wrestlers usually put two things on their bodies before they walk out. They either dump a bottle of water on their head because they're about to get really hot, or they dump baby oil on themselves. So that is why he's always wet.
And
So
we've
yeah,
also got hashtag justice for Broomhilda. So
Brewhilda will make a return, maybe next year.